mate, you're broke. You have no money. Why are you on a podcast telling anyone how to live their life?
Surely there's a lot more learning in prison than building a business.
Prison, I think, actually taught me the deepest life lessons because I was fighting myself mentally like every day.
Meet Tyron, ex-prisoner turned empire builder. He sold the Lambo, moved into a one-bed flat, and gambled it all on Dubai. No buzzwords, no fluff. Just hard lessons, hard numbers, and harder truths.
Everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. What do you think it takes to become an entrepreneur?
You can be friends with millionaires, billionaires, doesn't matter, right? You are wasting your time.
He's built a business that does millions, and he's not here to sugarcoat how. He's not playing the game, he's exposing it. This isn't business as usual, it's survival with receipts.
Your network only becomes your net worth if you make them network.
Yeah. The brokers in their brokerages are making more money than the cowboys that own them.
How much would you say someone needs to earn on a monthly salary to live in Dubai?
You've got to earn £200,000 a year.
Do you think you learned more in prison, or do you think you learned more building a business?
It was like...
Before we jump into today's episode, we've noticed that 71% of people watching right now are not subscribed. If you're watching this, you're clearly enjoying it. Here's our promise to you. Hit subscribe and we'll keep raising the bar, bringing you the biggest and best guests yet. Sharper conversations, bigger guests, and unfiltered conversations that others won't dare to do. Hit subscribe now. Do you think you learned more in prison, or do you think you learned more building a business?
That is an excellent question because for me, prison, I think, actually taught me the deepest life lessons because I was fighting myself mentally like every day where like one day I'd wake up in a good mood, another day I'd wake up depressed, another day I'd wake up somewhere in the middle, and it didn't matter. The result was always the same. It was like, oh, I feel really motivated today. Well, it doesn't matter because the door was open at that time. You eat at that time. You go work in the metal welding shop at that time. You go and do your exercise at that time and you go to bed at that time. Oh, I feel a bit depressed. I hate prison. You still have to do it in exactly the same order. So it was like this, it taught me the ultimate, like, no one gives a shit, basically. And that was the strongest life lesson I ever got because that translated heavily to business. Because now I have things go wrong all the time. I'm putting out fires most days, and I reckon 10 years ago they would have affected me a lot worse, whereas now it's just like water off a duck's back. So I would say prison taught me the most I've ever learned from anything I've done.
That's insane to say that. Sat opposite me today and you say that. I was so intrigued to ask you that question because I thought, you know what, for someone who has gone prison, surely there's a lot more learning in prison than building a business. Everyone's building a business now. Everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. What do you think it takes to become an entrepreneur?
To be honest, I think the term entrepreneur is overused. I think it's a complete fucking cliche now. I think that I call it the Andrew Tate effect. So while I love, by the way, what Andrew Tate's done for like men and for people who need to grow some ambition, what it's also produced is a culture of people that want the end result of an Andrew Tate. They want to drive the Bugatti, they want to wear a Patek or an RM, but they forget that it takes years and years and years of work, discipline, knowledge, and all that sort of stuff. So they'll go on like a podcast, or they'll set up a podcast, or they'll do something and be like telling people how to live their lives, saying get up at 5 a.m. and do all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, mate, you're fucking broke. You have no money. Why are you on a podcast telling anyone how to live their life? You are earning less than probably the average earner in the UK. And it's like, but they're just getting on with their job every day. You're now trying to, what I would call like snake oil sell people into maybe buying a course, buying some sort of community that you join or whatever. And they call themselves entrepreneurs. So if I think, am I in the same category as them? Absolutely not. I'm 5 years deep into this business. My running costs of the business are £150,000 a month. Before I've even had a sip of coffee, that's what goes out the company accounts. And I have to have developed a system that utilizes that spend to produce more money. Otherwise, I'm going to be bankrupt very, very fast. So when I say like, what does it take to be an entrepreneur? I think people need to start dialing in on what the fuck entrepreneur means, because I think most people, 99% of people, are absolutely like full of shit. They're absolutely full of shit. I don't buy it. I watch their podcasts, I watch their clips, I watch what they're talking about, and I think your lifestyle does not match what you're saying. You're on a pod saying you've done this many millions. You're on a video saying you've earned this much this month. I just think show the fucking receipts. Show the receipts. Show the receipts, because I'm not seeing it. I think people need to really, really understand that 99% of people that come up on your feed are absolute fucking cowboys. They are cowboys. And if you see them, I see them in Dubai all the time. You see them, they have not got the minerals. They haven't got the facilities to do what they're saying that they're doing.
That's what you call an entrepreneur, the Andrew Tate effect. So what does that make you? Got capital sitting still? If you're a high net worth individual, that's a missed opportunity. CFO helps HNW investors grow and protect wealth through smart lending, asset management, and tax-efficient strategies. In property, W1 delivers fast, flexible bridging and development finance for serious developers and investors. Whether it's wealth or real estate, CFO and W1 are the partners to trust. Details in the show description.
I'm definitely an entrepreneur, but I am somebody that, if I think about my entrepreneurial journey, I think about, I've been in my industry for 20 years. So I was selling houses at the lowest possible level at 17, 18 years old, door knocking in Bletchley, Milton Keynes, on shared ownerships where I earned £45 for selling the house. Wow. Right through to kind of, you know, at selling your middle of the range stuff, right up to luxury property where I've done transactions at 20 million, 23 million, 25 million, 10 million, 12 million, 8 million, all these big properties that I've sold. And so I went through, I'm not saying everyone has to go through 20 years of work on it, but what I'm saying is there has to be an element of learning that's been carried out in that field before telling people you should do this, you should do that. And I think that when you combine a ground level knowledge with a business knowledge, I think you become very indestructible in business, because you effectively have the insurance when you sleep at night that if everyone fucked off tomorrow, you could still turn over £1 or £2 million because you could go and do it yourself. Yeah. And I think people value that a lot when they're going into a company, knowing that you've got the answers. You've not just paid a trade license, opened an office and told everyone to get on the phones. You actually are the real deal. So for me, I am an entrepreneur because I live and breathe the actual product and service that we're doing. But I have a system that has grown immensely fast within 5 years. We're talking about well over 100 staff across the UK, now expanding into Dubai. We're selling 2 to 3 houses a day. We've got people earning 50, 70, 80, 100,000, 120,000 pound plus a month. You know, for me, I am absolutely 100% the real deal. And that is what makes me sleep at night as an entrepreneur. When I look at many people even that I kind of know personally, they say they've run a business, but I walk into a coffee shop and I can reverse engineer the numbers of how many cups of coffee they need to sell, how much roughly that member or 2 members of staff is costing. I'll roughly gauge what the rent will be, how much it costs for the fit out, what your gas, water and electricity bills are, plus how much your coffee beans are going to cost, sugar, milk, all the rest of it. And then I can work out in reverse engineered fashion exactly how much cups of coffee you got to sell to make your fucking nut. And then I'll know, do I want to open a coffee shop? Fuck no. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of my attitude to business, is that you have to reverse engineer the numbers. Like for me in Dubai, there's so many fucking real estate companies out here. So many. You know what everyone said to me? Dubai is too crowded. There's too many real estate companies. They didn't tell me that 95% of them were dog shit. They didn't tell me that they're run by fucking amateurs and that they sell like 3 or 4 properties a month. They're not real estate companies. That's a fucking hobby. That's a hobby. You have real estate as a hobby. So like when I see companies that are like, oh, we've got this many listings, and I'm like, but you've got 3 owners. So you're putting out, so let me reverse engineer these numbers. You're handing out anywhere between 60% to 65% commission based on all the commission out plus your overrides. real estate's a cost-heavy business. It's a cost-heavy business. Advertising is heavy. Offices are heavy. Training is heavy. Staff is heavy. It's heavy, right? So now you've got 3 people living off 35% gross profit, and that's before you've taken the costs out, because 65% has gone out in commission. So now you've got to pay your office rent, which is probably about, I don't know, £5,000, £6,000, £7,000 a month. Then you've got Bayou, Property Finder, Debizzle, all the advertising platforms, plus you got to pay for the premium and the feature credits. Mate, the brokers in their fucking brokerages are making more money than the fucking cowboys that own them. I promise you. Tell them to show their bank accounts. Fucking broke. I'm telling you, they're broke. I can tell. I see some of them, they're on fucking clips telling people you shouldn't be selling unless you wear a suit, this, that, and the other. You drive a fucking 1 Series and you live in a studio in fucking JVC. No offense to anyone who lives there. But I'm saying, you're not a fucking entrepreneur. Sit fucking down. Sit down. You have too much to say. Like, there are people who have built phenomenal businesses out here. And I look at them with complete respect, with admiration, because I feel that anyone who succeeds in business deserves respect. But what I don't like is people claiming they've succeeded when they haven't. That pisses me off, because I've been to fucking hell and back doing this business. Hell and back. Like, I remember cashing out everything that was in the company bank account in the UK, dumping it into setting up in Dubai, leaving enough to pay for everything in Dubai in the UK for about 3 months. I told the missus, we're moving out the fucking 2-bed apartment in Chelsea. I've just sold the Lamborghini. We're battening down the hatches for about 6 months. I moved us into a 1-bed little apartment. It was okay. 1-bed little apartment. And I said, we're not moving out of here until I've hit the first £500,000 of revenue. That's not happening. So get comfortable. And then once we did that, right, I moved us into a slightly nicer 1-bed. It was newer. It had tiled floors. And then from there, we hit $1 million. And once I hit $1 million, we moved into a 3-bed penthouse type apartment. And that's how I operate with business, is that I 110% back myself. And so when I see these people, I just think, you haven't got my ability. I know you don't. I've spoke to you. I've shook your hand. I've looked in the whites of your eyes. You would be lucky to get a job with me. And I'm thinking, but you're running a business. And I think to myself, your lifestyle doesn't match what you're saying. It doesn't match what you're saying. You know, people can say, I'm an overspender, I'm doing things for show. I can tell you now, everything I buy, everything I do is with disposable money. Like, I have profit that sits there. Mm-hmm. I don't touch that. I have bills that are paid months and months and months in advance. I'm investing in properties. I'm doing all the things that I should be doing. But I'll still drop $200,000 on an RM. I'll still drop $500,000 on a car because I have the money. So I'm not from a rich family. I door knocked myself. I listed and sold myself. I built this business completely from the ground up, and I can do those things with not all of the company's profit, with a portion of the company's profit to satisfy my lifestyle.
Disposable money. Money that you, fun money.
Yeah, I'm not trying to prove anything. I could have done the watch and the car probably a year earlier, but I didn't want to do it because I knew I needed to load it up a bit more and load it up a bit more. And that way, when I buy the car, it's not going to piss me off. It's not going to, because you can resent things as well. Like, definitely. I know people that, like, they move into a flat or an apartment or a house and it's too much money for them. And instead of just moving into something smaller for like a year, they think, I'm in Dubai, I have to prove myself.
Got to maintain the lifestyle.
Yeah, you have to put it on Instagram and show people your watch and all this. And I'm like, but you've done your nuts. Don't do your nuts. Like, wait. And if it's not working, keep tweaking it until it grows and it's producing more revenue. Then go and treat yourself when you know you've earned it. And in your gut feeling, you get a feeling when you know you've earned it. For me, when I was buying the car, I was looking around, and it just didn't feel right. But when I bought it, that was the right time. The watch, I was like, oh, I really want that watch. 6 months ago, I wouldn't have felt like I deserved it. But when I bought it this time, I was like, yeah, I deserve it. You know what I'm saying?
And to take your life back, right now you're a very successful entrepreneur in Dubai. You're smashing it. You're sat there, like you said, with a $200,000 RM on your wrist. You drive a beautiful car. You're doing very well for yourself. you haven't always been doing well for yourself. Let's take you back to your childhood, your upbringing. Who are you?
Yeah, so I grew up in a city called Milton Keynes. I think it's a city now, full of roundabouts. Milton Keynes was not what it was like now back when I was growing up. So for me, it was like I was one of 3 or 4 ethnic kids in a 300 or 400 person white school. Racism was very normal back then. It was a case of like you would deal with it on a daily basis. I would have fights on the way home from school. But that was character building for me. I never like got upset by it, because the thing for me was that like I think my dad always taught me like, you know, this is life. You've just got to deal with it. And you know, we were living in a white area, a very white area. So I would box a lot. I would learn how to defend myself. I would make sure that, and obviously I had a younger brother coming from school. He had it a lot easier than me because he was lighter skinned. He looked like he could have been Greek or something like this. And also he played for Coventry City in the academy. So he was like the golden kid at school, you know, the popular kid. He'd turn up with his academy tracksuit on and everyone would kiss his ass. Whereas I was the one in detention, getting suspended, doing stupid stuff all the time. So that was my life. But as I got older, I didn't know what I wanted to do, because I remember meeting with a careers advisor at like my school, and they were showing me all these job options, and they were like, what do you want to do at uni, what do you want to do in A-levels? And I was looking through them all, and I think the highest salary on there was like £50,000 or something like that, and there was a lawyer that was at about 80 to 100, right? And I went, well, I'll be a lawyer then. And then, well, you've got to go to uni for like 8 years or something. I thought, fuck, 8 years? I've just done fucking 5 or 6. That is mental. So I was like, no, absolutely not. Then it was like, well, everything else pays. So I asked my dad, how much is £50,000 a year? He's like, yeah, it's good money. I said, yeah, but how much is it a month? It's roughly about £3,000 a month, something like that. I went, how much does it cost to have a Ferrari? And he was like, yeah, about £3,000. Well, that's not going to work, is it? Because I was working part-time in the estate agents at the time, and I remember having, I mean, this is showing my age, but I had the Auto Trader, actually the book.
Okay, yeah.
Fucking hell, I can't be that old. But like, and I would have the Ferraris, the Lamborghinis out and all this, and I'd be like, and I say to my mum, when I sold 160 apartments, I'm going to buy one of these. And my mum's laughing like, you ain't fucking buying that, selling houses in Bletchley. But like, that was the ambition I had. And so it was just kind of, it never really resonated with me that it was okay to settle for anything less. And, you know, I remember like my dad would say to me, like, you're just ungrateful, like, you know, be realistic. And he was an old school guy, you know, he built his property portfolio over the course of his life, and he did things the correct way, and he's done well. But like, I'm a now person. I'm like, no, well, that's not enough. I don't want to wait till I'm 50 years old. I want a Ferrari when I'm fucking 25.
You'll enjoy it.
Yeah. You know, I ain't gonna care when I'm that, you know, older. So it was that kind of mentality that I had. And of course I got made, even in school and like by friends, by family, to feel as if I was something wrong with me. It was like really weird. It was like, oh, he thinks he's going to get a Lamborghini, and my mates would laugh at me in the pub, and you know, it was really weird. And I remember when I first started selling property, and I was prospecting and winning listings, and this was in the luxury end of the market where the commissions are a bit higher. And I said, well, when I sell this house, I'm going to earn like 20 grand. And my mates are laughing at me in the pub and go, oh, have you sold any houses yet? Sold any houses 3 months later. And then I earned like 28 grand 1 month. And I showed them the slip, and I said, well, I just earned £28,000 on the fucking site. You could have heard a pin drop, because
that's some of their yearly salaries.
That's their yearly salaries. And they went, what, you've earned that in a month? No way. And they're literally looking at this slip and passing it around, and like, you fucking earned that in a month. I said, I fucking told you. I told you. You thought I was bullshitting. I said, and the worst thing is I'm going to do it next month. I'm going to do it next month. And I was ruthless. Like, when everyone was sat in the office, I remember, I don't think they knew I worked there for 3 months, because all I did was door knock all day, every day. And I would stop.
I don't think they knew I worked.
No, I don't think they worked there. I thought they just thought I was someone who collected and dropped off leaflets.
Some little
and
part-time
stuff.
guy who just walks in and out.
So I would just like out door knocking these multi-million-pound houses all day, every day. I would stop at Costa, have a sandwich, have a coffee, and back again till about 8, 9 o'clock at night. And the worst thing was, when I first started there, they didn't know that I'd been to prison. So I was working my first 4 months on tag.
Swear to
Yeah.
God.
So I was in people's market appraisals.
At these multi-million-pound houses on tag.
I had a big fucking lump in my sock where I had the tag for house arrest, or whatever you call it. And I had to plead with the probation to allow me to have an extent, because you usually have to be in about 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. Well, I said I need to be in at 9:30 p.m. because I live in Milton Keynes. I'm working in North London. It takes me about 45 minutes to an hour to drive back, and I work late. I said I don't leave at 5 p.m. I'm working till 7 p.m. Some days I remember I'll be like, it's 8:56 and I'm fucking burning it through the estate in Milton Keynes, because when that goes to 9, my phone's going to start ringing. That was what it was like, but that was all I did. And it was weird because a lot of people don't learn from prison. They go in there, and I remember seeing this culture, and I didn't like it. And it was this culture of like, it was a bit like going back to high school again. That's what I remember someone saying this to me as well, but I didn't really realize it until you're there. It's like going back to secondary school, and you have these different groups. You've got like the nerdy guys probably need their hard drives checked. They're like hanging around in the library. You've got like the kind of spice smokers, the little crackheads. They all hang around together, kind of picking up cigarettes off the floor and all that sort of stuff. Then you get the kind of sportier guys that are in the gym more. People are sneaking in steroids and they're jacked and they're eating 10 eggs off the canteen and all this sort of stuff. And you get these groups, and it's like they all, in every single prison, the groups are the same.
Yeah.
The groups are the same. Of course, the gangs and stuff will hang around a bit more, but generally they're of this kind of culture. And of course, you get the religious, congregations. You get the Muslim people that hang around together and all this stuff. I was kind of hovering in the middle. My father's Pakistani. We definitely sort of identify on some level as being Muslim, but we're not practicing. But my mother's Italian Catholic, so we kind of always been brought up in the middle somewhere. So I would get on with everybody, but I also didn't like the social elements to it, because people would find their comfort zones in there, and then they would repeat their bad behaviour. And that's the problem. A drug dealer will go in there and not reform from dealing drugs. They'll make more connections to deal more drugs when they go out.
Yep.
The crackhead, who really should stop smoking heroin and crack and all that, makes friends with more crackheads, and then they find out how to smoke more crack together. It's nuts. Yep. It's like they gravitate towards each other. But one of the most amazing things, I remember I was sat in Ramby in Doncaster, right? That's where I was. They shipped me up there. And I was in this cell in House Block A, old school like prison with the spurs coming off and all that. Horrible.
Proper shit up.
Horrible. Like when I say, I remember being on the blue box phone to my dad, and I said, and there was like almost like a half a riot going on. There was some people fighting on the hallway. I remember someone throwing pool balls. It was all going off. Someone ended up on the netting in the middle, and I just arrived, and I was literally like, this is fucking unbelievable. I was like, and there's gangs hanging around on the landings and stuff like this. And I'm on the phone to my dad, and I said, he's like, how is it? I said, listen, I said, I wish I could tell you it's all right, but I said, imagine every prison movie you've ever watched in your life, now times it by 10. That's what I'm looking at now. I said, it's fucking chaos. And weirdly, later that day, it must have been brewing, because a massive riot erupted, and all the screws are fighting the prisoners. There's pool balls flying around, and I got pushed. So they're just pushing everyone into the cells and shutting the doors, right? So I get pushed into this cell, and it was a guy who had a single cell, and he's just sitting there. And I was in there for 5 hours with this guy.
5 hours?
Just sat there with him, getting to know him. It was like, oh, so what you in for, mate? And it was like that. And I was just locked in his cell for nothing.
I can't do anything.
And we were just there. Do you want a cup of tea? Yeah, go on, I'll have a cup of tea. Like, he's like one of them. It's fucking madness. And one of the most amazing things that I witnessed is just how resourceful prisoners actually are. Yeah. So, you know how you've heard people say, I've heard this quote, I'm not going to quote it exactly, but it's something to do with crackheads and how a crackhead doesn't need the motivation to go and find crack.
Yep,
you know that one. And it's like they get up, they beg, steal, borrow, they go find the crack and they get crack, right? I didn't fully understand that until I was in there. And I remembered, like, I was with my pad mate, who was a horrible, horrible little bastard he was, from like Nottingham, yeah. You wouldn't, if he went in your house, he will nick anything that isn't nailed down. Yep. He's one of those guys. And he is shouting down the hallway, saying to his mate, "Oi, have you got any Rizzler? Have you got any Rizzler? Like, asking me. I'm like, no, I don't smoke, mate. He's like, and then he goes, right. He goes, I'll send one down. And I thought, what do you mean he's going to send one down, right? I swear to God, he got this little mirror like this, that you know, with the little holes in, right? And he ripped up the sheet, right? And he created this long, almost thin, long string thing from the sheet, yeah? He tied it to the mirror, right? And then he must have made it about 8-10 foot long, this thing, right? And then he frisbeed the mirror out in holding this sheet out into the hallway, and it was just in the middle of the landing, right? And then his mate did the same, I assume, with like another mirror attached to some sheet, pulls his one in like this because they hook together, somehow attaches this Rizzer, ties it in, flings it back out, he pulls it back in. And I thought, that is one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in my life. How the fuck have you come up with that, you little crackhead? How have you done that? If you used an ounce of that fucking initiative to something productive...
You're a fucking millionaire.
But he just wanted some fucking
Rizzler.
That's all he wanted. It was mental. Absolutely mental. Yeah.
And prison for you. Why did you go prison? Do you want your brand in front of 1 million people a month? Our audience is UK-based, aged 18 to 35, ambitious and hard to reach, but we've got their attention. The BlueTick Show is all about real, unfiltered stories, from CEOs to ex-criminals. We've got over 200,000 subscribers. Our listeners don't just tune in, they engage and take action. If you want to grow your brand with a podcast people actually care about and engage with, then let's talk business. Partner with the BlueTick Show now to make sure your brand is the next thing they hear about.
Yeah, so I was done for intent to supply Class A. This was cocaine. It was a very... I definitely wasn't Pablo Escobar, I can tell you that for free. It was... I got caught with like 9 grams.
Okay.
You know, I thought to myself, come on, that can get passed off as personal use. I know that's a slow weekend for some people that I used to know, do you know what I mean? But... They found a few tick lists, they found a few phones. There was a few people that I was attached to who also got nicked. I think they were just watching us all fucking around, going to the same gym every day. It was just one of them.
Put 2 and 2 together, got 12.
Oh, yeah, it was, yeah. I went not guilty for ages as well because I couldn't fathom going to prison. I was like, I'm not going to prison, I'm not going to prison. And right to the end... And I thought, yeah, I'm definitely going to prison. And it was like, it was just stupid. And the worst thing was, it wasn't like my full-time job. I was working as like a personal trainer or something and in this gym.
How old was you when you went to prison?
It was 2015. So that would be 10 years ago now. So 29, 28,
okay.
29.
Okay. So you weren't very young when you went?
No, this is what I'm saying. I spent my 30th birthday in prison.
You got sentenced to, 4 years? And you done...
Yeah, and I did half, 16 months inside and then 4 months on tag. And it was a harsh sentence, but I think they got angry because I didn't plead guilty straight away. So I wasted a lot of people's time. And I remember, like, also, for anyone that does get in a bit of trouble, get yourself a decent lawyer. Because I tell you now, mine was categorically one of the worst lawyers I've ever seen in my life. We had this big conversation about how we're going to put it across to them and blah, 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 and all the good things that actually I've done in my life and blah, 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 and all this character building in front of them and all this. And we spent a good couple of hours, you know, when he had his chance to talk, presenting what he needed to say. Got to his time to talk, didn't say anything.
Seriously?
Just went, yeah, 40 months, yeah. And I'm like, you're not going to say anything? Didn't say a fucking word.
You went to prison at 29. When did you turn over your first £1 million?
That would have been, let me think when we started now, 2021 is the first year of business. Yeah.
So
About
your
4
first
years ago.
year of business,
Yeah,
you turned over...
we did 1.2 million in the first year. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'd have netted like 400, 500,000, but gross turnover was $1 million. And then, year 3 was when I earned my first net £1 million. So it was like 1.4 million net.
Do you think you'd be in the position you are today without prison?
No. Weirdly, it was one of the most badly wrapped presents I've ever had in my life because it was it made me deal with every single part of my brain that was not operating correctly. It made me face all my demons. And for me, I was weirdly grateful for it. But the funny thing was that I still didn't know I was going to do this when I was in there. So my dad, being the conventional, traditional guy I said, you know, you need a trade. You need a trade. So he made me go, when I was on bail for like 12 months or 13 months, he made me go and do an electrician's course. So I got the whatever that was. I could tell you now, I was one of the worst electricians to ever walk the earth. Like, I was so bad in that I still, to this day, I remember passing the course and I was copying the guy next to me. And I was like, I thought, this is not going to help me.
Yeah,
like,
how are you going to blow up a house?
Yeah. Well, like, I remember like copying him and thinking, yeah, I passed, and we all got this like certification. And I was thinking, I don't even understand what these little squiggly lines mean and what the numbers mean. I don't know what they mean. So like but I kind of learned as I was on the job. So I knew how to like kind of wire in a socket circuit and all this. I remember going to one job that someone gave me, and he was like, he liked me, and he was like, well done, Ty, you know, for sorting yourself out. He was an electrician, really experienced one. He goes, I'll give you this little job to do. You know, you can earn a few £100. All you've got to do is change over the fuse board. So he gave me the fuse board. There was the fuse board there. And you've just got to undo it, unscrew it, and then wire it back in exactly the same way. And I'm like, I can't do that, mate.
Regarding your prison experience, I don't want to touch too much on prison.
No, I don't mind.
Because I'm starting a new series called the Entrepreneurial series.
Yeah, nice.
So prison life, let's put that in the back burner for now. You've said it turned you into who you are today. But one thing I want to understand is what makes a great salesman.
Yeah, I think I break down sales into an 80-20 rule. And if these percentages are off roughly, it can fuck up the whole end result for that salesperson. Okay. So you get two types of people, right? You get the people who have got commission breath. So they're the ones that are very, very bad at building rapport. They can't really make friends very easy, and they're just ruthless salespeople. So you speak to them like, do you want to buy a house? Do you want to buy an apartment? They're like that. They're on you,
to the point,
but they're too much, and they freak people out. They push people away. They get frustrated, and they don't last very long. Then you get the other people who I call it getting friend zoned. It's like the friend that speaks to the girl, becomes her best friend, spends hours and hours with her, where she says, I just wish I could find a guy just like you, but not you. That kind of thing, yeah? So that happens a lot. So people are very good at building the relationships. They can make friends. They can build the connections, but they can't ask for the business. And the problem is many people are afraid of rejection because they don't have the techniques to actually ask for the business. So the perfect salesperson is 80% relationship builder, 20% closer. And that means, and actually, funny enough, people often mistake being a good closer with being a pushy salesman. That is just untrue. When people are in communication with you, especially as a real estate professional, they are expecting to get closed on business. Like if you're friends with me, if you don't expect the fact that I'm going to ask you why you haven't given us a house to sell yet, or why you haven't bought an investment property with you, you don't know me very well.
Yeah.
Because that's our bread and butter. In fact, I feel so strongly on this. I remember I was friends with this guy for 10 years, right? 10 years. And I was on Facebook. I swear to God, this is true. I was on Facebook and I saw him share this shitty little Northamptonshire estate agent's post of his house. It was only like £230,000 that they sold. And I messaged him straight away. I went, what's this? And he said, oh, you know, they sold the house. I know the guy who runs it. I said, we've been mates for 10 years. I said, why have you not given that to my company? And he said, but you sell like £1 million houses, this, that, and the other. So I don't give a fuck. I don't care if that was a fucking shed. We sell it. That's my business. And I said, me and you are fucking done. And that was the last time I ever spoke to him.
Serious?
And I cut off a 10-year friendship over a 200 grand house.
It's principle though, right?
It's absolutely principle.
Yeah,
I don't care if we fucking earn £1,000 from it. I don't care.
If my best mate went on a podcast and didn't come on mine, our friendship would be over.
It is. It's true. It's basic rules of engagement, basic rules of life. So I feel, but that's another story. So with regards to the original question, you need to be an expert and you need to be likable. You need to be able to build relationships. It's this term of networking. Networking is an unbelievably overused cliche, just like entrepreneur is. It's something that people think being in a room full of other dimlos is networking. It's not. You are in the wrong room. You need to be around people that have actually got wealth and have actually got doors they can open for you. When they do that, that is networking. So you've got to be an expert at that. Like, for example, I'm very, very good at building relationships with people in social situations. So I've done multiple deals, especially when I got here, just out my gym. I remember closing a guy for a 6 million dirham apartment where I earned like £40,000 net income out of it. And I was literally on the treadmill next to him, walking, doing a bit of cardio, sent him the link for him to make the payment, done, because I'd formed the relationship with him. Yeah. He trusted me. I knew what I was talking about. He's made loads of money on that investment now. And what I'm getting at is that I could spend 80% hearing how someone's day is, talking about how our missus are giving her earache, all that sort of stuff. And then I go, oh, by the way, listen, I need you to invest in this because this thing is going to make you a fortune. Are you ready to do it now, or do you want to wait a few months? And then they'll be like, actually, do you know what? I've got a few quid. I can do this. Yeah, let's do it. And it's like, I say it in exactly the same tonality, exactly the same confidence.
You're still talking to him as a friend.
Yeah. Because
you're just talking about a different conversation.
100%. And if he doesn't expect that, then he is sitting with the wrong fucking person because, you know, but a lot of people are afraid of that. Oh, he's my friend. I don't want to pressure him. You're not pressuring him. Believe me. If you don't sell him that, someone else will. And you know what's going to happen? When they do, you're going to be really fucking pissed off that he didn't buy for you, and you'll probably do what I did and fall out with him for 10 years.
Do you know one quote that really annoys me? Everyone says your network is your net worth.
Yeah, yeah.
And over my years, obviously you can imagine, I've met hundreds of people through interviewing people. And one thing I've learned is your network only becomes your net worth if you make them network.
Yeah.
And everyone forgets that last line.
Yeah.
They think sitting in a room with 5 millionaires, automatically you become a millionaire.
It's true.
You've got to make them talk to each other so you can get your little percent.
100%.
Everyone forgets. People say, oh yeah, but my boy's a millionaire. Yeah, but you're broke.
I know. Yeah.
you're
not a millionaire. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's so common. It's so common because the funny thing is as well is that you can be friends with millionaires, billionaires, doesn't matter, right? If you also don't have something to present to them where they will feel 110% confident in doing some element of business with you, you are wasting your time because it is a waste of time. For example, if you're in real estate and you're sat with all these multi-million pound property owners, but they think they just feel a bit sorry for you and they hang around with you because you're a bit of a donut, then you ain't getting anything. So you can try on their watches as much as you want and tell them how great things are and eat a bit of steak with them and go to the beach club, but they ain't doing any fucking business with you. You've been solidly friend zoned, right?
And I think in Dubai it's the worst for it as well.
Yes.
There is so many fake it till you make it.
Oh yeah.
I've never seen so many fake RMs in my life.
It's insane. I know what I had to do to buy that watch. No, it fucks me off. I know what I had to do. It was horrible. Even I earned good money, but it was horrible. When I was handing over that much cash for a fucking watch, he went, "Are you happy?" And I went, "No, this is bullshit. This is bullshit."
The good thing is it won't lose value.
No, I love it now. I've got it. But that pain, and I thought to myself, all these people I see, you ain't got that. You haven't done that. Like, you haven't gone through that emotion where you've built a business to create yourself hundreds of thousands of pounds to go and dump on a watch and go through the emotions I did with it, just like that. Just like that. You just got it on in the gym, yeah? Yeah? You're fucking talking shit.
There's a select few who can.
No,
Don't
of course,
get it twisted.
absolutely.
In Dubai, you see that side of it.
Yeah.
I was at the swimming pool earlier and I saw a guy getting in the pool with his full white RM, yeah? That's what, $500,000?
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I thought, nah, it's fake. I don't even need to look at the watch.
Yeah.
I know it's fake because no one. All right, there's a few of the big players who are getting it gladly. They don't care. It's their daily watch.
Yeah.
But I'm not staying in the best apartment in the whole of Dubai.
This is what I'm saying. It doesn't.
I was doing the math and I was thinking,
it doesn't add up.
No.
It doesn't add up. And like the maths do not math. And the reverse is that. Like I went for a few. I went for dinner, a few drinks and dinner with a guy who a friend of mine introduced me to. Now, it was outlined very clearly. This guy's a big hitter. He's a big hitter, right? And I walked in, first outing with my new watch, and I noticed he had a very similar watch on. So across the table, I could see it had the gold face and it had a green strap. So same sort of combination as mine. And I went,
nice watch.
Good start, like that, and he was like laughing. He's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, yeah, look, they look very similar. It's quite funny. It's a really random combination, blah, 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 and all this. And he was like, yeah. And then I looked at it and I thought, it's not quite the same as mine. And then I went online and it was like double the price of mine. His was like $500,000 clean. And I felt a bit stupid after that. But I sort of made a joke with him after, but he took it really well. But this guy's a big hitter, and he's got safes full of them. And that's the thing. But there are people I see, and then they'll be like a club promoter, and he's walking around Dubai with an RM, and I'm like, how many fucking tables did you have to fill to buy that? And it just doesn't add up. The maths do not math.
But one thing with me, what I've always said is I'd prefer to walk around with no watch on my wrist, have money in my pocket, than to spend all my money on a watch and have nothing in my pocket.
100%. It's like you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. You're trying to look rich instead of being rich. And the funny thing is that there's no better satisfactory feeling than when you actually do it. Because if you're working towards that, the one advice I would give anyone is don't get drawn into what other people are doing. Everyone's got a bit of a funny story attached. They're doing things not quite as they seem. They will present a show to you. When they encounter you, they will want you to think that they have already made it. And that is the funny thing. And then, what you'll see is that the reality is very, very bleak in comparison for 95% of these people. There are some people, I see them, and they are loaded, and they have got a different RM on in the gym every day. Yeah. And I know they're real. I don't even need to look at it, right? And then there's other people I think, no.
That one.
Yeah.
You recently not recently, but you've made the full transition and expansion to Dubai now. You live here fully now?
Yes.
What would you say the pros and cons of Dubai are?
I think the cons of Dubai I'll start with is be very, very careful legally. So that is the funny thing, is that there's too many people who come to Dubai and they try their luck with different things. The legal system here is ruthless. It is absolutely ruthless. And for people who are doing silly things, maybe doing drugs, maybe doing different things, it goes on. They are absolutely stupid for doing that. There is straight 20-year sentences for people who do this stuff. It's not even... If you really, really want to do that stuff, fuck off somewhere else for a few months, do whatever you got to do, and then whatever. But don't disrespect the country, because it has got its rules. It's made the rules very clear since day one. Don't come and bend them, basically. Yeah. The second thing is, I got into, a bit of a hoo-ha here, because I had somebody who ripped me off for this website, and I lost nearly £30,000.
You spent £30,000 on a website?
It was like a training platform, right?
Okay.
And they, with all the filming and the course being mapped
the whole
out, the whole shebang, yeah. And it was dog shit. The payment links weren't working. The things weren't loading. I got people messaging me on Instagram going, I'm trying to buy the course. It's not going through. I'm fucking losing my shit. It's making me look a complete dickhead. Anyway, long and short of it is, I said, I don't want to do it anymore. It's done. I'm done. Just send me half the money back. You can keep half for the time you've put in, but I want half just for this shit website or thingy that doesn't do. Anyway, they refused. They were blaming each other, blah, 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 all this sort of stuff. So I was kind of having one of those days. I was having a shit day at the time, and and then I saw this guy in the gym.
And you forgot you lived in Dubai.
And I forgot I lived in Dubai. Now I there was a verbal. There was a verbal. We'll call it a verbal. There was no physical altercation. It was a verbal. It was an argument. Give me my effing money. Blah blah blah. Whatever it might be. Yeah. I don't know you anything. That kind of thing. Back and forth. Done. I think he got a little bit because he felt like I was closing in on him. I said, I know what you're up to. You're scamming people, this, that, and the other. He felt like I was closing in on him. And obviously, I know a lot of people here. I'm very well connected. And 3 days later, I got a call from Dubai police calling me into the station. And I thought, You've got to be joking. You have got
You
to
definitely
be
wobbled a bit.
joking. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Because you start panicking.
Yeah,
I don't care what anyone says, you start panicking. So I, for 3 or 4 months now, had this looming over me. And he's made this accusation that you said this. And so my brother was right next to me. We said, no, he didn't. He said this. So it basically was, in a nutshell.
He said, she said.
Yes, 100%. However, by the letter of the law, the accusations he was making on a worst case is you could go to prison for 3 years and maybe get deported.
For swearing at him.
On a bad day, right? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, this is mental. Like, I was like, this is mental. So this goes on. We go to prosecution.
Oh,
and
fully like went to trial.
Literally went to a fucking little room where we sat there. So prosecution is before court. This is where they try to mediate it, yeah, because it's low level stuff, right? So we sat there, and even the prosecutor turned around to us both and said, "This isn't going anywhere. Like, just end it." Both agreed to end it and get on with your lives, basically, right? And I said, "Look, I'm happy to end it. I'm happy to shake his hand. You know, we walk away. I never speak to him again." No, let me speak to my lawyer. This little 3 foot nothing. I'm not going to go into who was or anything like that. But 3 foot nothing, Napoleon syndrome, barking his mouth off to the prosecution. And I'm like, this cannot be happening. Nothing's happened. Nothing has happened. So anyway, this then goes all the way. I get a court date. Court date is on Christmas Day. I've got family flown over for Christmas lunch. We have got bookings, reservations in DIFC at 1 p.m. and I am in court at 9 a.m. So I'm now in court. You know, my lawyer was actually very, very good. Goes in, it's in Arabic, but I can see just by his tonality and his pointing at, you know, this guy and all this, he's doing a great job. Whereas his lawyer,
doing a great job.
It cost a lot of money. Had the best lawyer I could get. His lawyer was rubbish. He was like a little bit of a gimp, you know. He was just like speaking. His voice was a bit weak. He didn't say much. Yeah. It was like one of those things. It was like I knew I was.
You
like,
had Harvey Specter.
Yeah. Literally, my guy walked in and knew everyone there, and this guy kind of shuffled in. And I thought, I've got the right guy, you know. Then he kind of they sent us into this room, this holding cell. We were the first people in. You got benches of people in for these petty crimes. And I'm sitting there, and I'm in this holding cell. It's just me and him in the holding cell.
In there together?
Yeah. And I thought, what I would give. But anyway, you know, we're not long now. So then it goes.
And could you genuinely go prison from here?
There was a chance.
So you could have potentially just gone prison on Christmas Day?
Yes.
Yeah, fuck that.
Potentially, right? So we then move into the holding cell that everyone sits in while you wait for this like verdict. And we're waiting. It's 12:30. Families that my girlfriend, mine, they're in the restaurant at 1 p.m. Right? They're probably heading there now.
Ripped.
My brother's waiting upstairs with my lawyer, waiting for this verdict. Anyway, we both get a 5k fine. A 5k fine. He gets a fine as well, right? He gets himself fined. Oh, yeah. I said to my brother, run up to the cash desk and just pay it. Pay it now. I'll give you the money out. I need out of here. Yeah. Then the guy goes to me in the thing. Oh, it's over, bro. And my head, like I think my blood pressure jumped like from here to through. I could feel it going through my eyeballs. Yeah. And I went, bro. What are you talking about? I said, this is your fault. We're here, not mine. Yours. You nearly got us both banged up for nothing.
And you tried to squash it previously as well.
Literally 3 or 4 occasions. He even tried to extort me for like 50k, £10,000 to drop the case. And I went, no. I said, I'd rather do 12 months in jail than pay you a penny. I said it. And I thought, and that's what happened. So like, I ran to the bars, like, and I said, excuse me, officer. I said, please, I've just been acquitted of it. I've paid the fine. Get me out of this cell. This delusional man, I'm going to end up with another case in a minute. Get me out of this cell, please. I'm begging you. Just let me out. Let me stand just the other side of the door. I can't deal with this guy, right? And he went, oh, okay, no worries. He got me out. And I said, I'm innocent. I don't need to be in here. I've already paid my fine. Get me out. And then they let me out. And I've never encountered now. While the legal system held up as it should, it was just a fine, and everyone said to me it's just a fine. There was a possibility.
Yeah.
Let's say it was 5%.
Was you on a travel ban as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
For 3 months. All
Wow.
for what? For what? I didn't rip him off. I got ripped off. And like suddenly I get ripped off. I'm now on a travel ban. And I'm sitting there thinking, God, I might have to do a few months in jail here. This is nuts.
In Dubai.
Yeah,
Long
which
day.
isn't like UK jail, you know. So that happened like, just year just gone. And me and my brother like gave each other a hug outside the court, and like we walked into DIFC like as if we'd just like won something. It was just we walked in, get the champagne out, bro. It was like that, and I just thought, wow. So
Close call.
that was a verbal, and even though it would have always ended up with just a fine or whatever it might be, there was 3 months of absolute stress. There was £7,000 or £8,000 of solicitor bills that I paid. There was all this stuff that just I didn't need because, and so even after people go, oh, that's ridiculous. I said, yeah, like you can say it's ridiculous, but do you know what? Have I had an argument since?
You're never
Have
gonna
I
swear at
fuck? Have I fuck? You get in a argument, you argue on your own, mate. You want to
win.
smash my car up? Here you go. Here's a fucking bat. Crack on. I'm not interested because like, and you realise it is zero tolerance. It is zero tolerance. So over the course of everything, it's correct. And while I was so livid about what was happening, I had faith that the right outcome must prevail. You can't send someone to prison for that. And that's what everyone said. You can't go to prison for having an argument and, and all that sort of stuff. But if someone sticks their middle finger up at someone in traffic, if someone says the F word on a text message.
On a text message?
Yeah, if you say the F word to somebody on a text message, say you got like...
So you text me right now, we're in a business, I piss you off, you text me, Mikey, fuck you.
You can
I
go to
the
police and I
you'll
will
get nipped.
at least get 6 months in jail.
For swearing at you?
100%. You do not swear. I promise. You don't do it. You don't do it.
No way.
And this is the thing. You have to respect the land. Like it's,
Yeah.
but it's hard. It's very hard.
Being from London as well.
Oh, you can have, the taxi driver will be effing and blinding on the way to somewhere, just moaning about something. It's a different world. You got to remember that you're living in a dictatorship. This is a dictatorship. Every office has the pictures of the is it the sheikhs and the sheikhs, and that's the law of the land. But the other side of it is that you are not getting taxed to your eyeballs. You have ample opportunity to make lots of money, and you can thrive if you have some skills to actually thrive. But also, it's an expensive place to live. So a lot of people move to Dubai and they're home in 6 months because there is a beach club and a nightclub to go to 7 days a week and 3 times on a Sunday. It is literally that active. And if you don't have the self-control and you've got a pile of money, let's say it's £15,000, £20,000 saved up, you're going to be broke in a fucking month.
Yeah, easy.
Oh, easy.
And that's what I say to everyone out here. Like, people are like, oh, but you spend so much money. And I say, yeah, but that's because I live like I'm on holiday. If I was to move here, I'm not going to go beach club every single day.
No.
I don't go out in London every single day. Maybe I have my once a week where I go out with my boys.
Because you have
I
your
enjoy
condensed
myself.
period. Exactly.
In London, I'm not out in central London every single day. So
Yeah.
why do I need to do that in Dubai?
Yeah.
The problem is Dubai has so much to offer.
Oh, 100%.
There is, it's not like, oh, is it a good night there? It's going off. Every night it's going off. So
yeah.
Fuck.
Oh, it really is. Like that you'll never, and the funny thing is that so what I would say to anyone who's like trying to make their way in Dubai is just understand that you've got to drop the fear of missing out, because there's always tomorrow, and there's always next week, and there's always next month, and there's always another DJ coming to town, and there's always another event. I think the people who can actually remain disciplined, they're the ones that do really well because they capitalize on the opportunity. They make connections, they make money, they're in a very clear state of mind that they can do business. And then they select their one day or whatever it might be where they want to go and have a few drinks with their friends and all this. But they're not, Tuesday, we need to go to Amazonica. Wednesday, we need to go to this place.
You can't
Friday.
sustain it. You can't sustain
No
it. I don't
way.
care how much money you got. You
And
can't
like also, like in London, you can negotiate a table for like £1,000 spend. They're starting at 2,000 here. They are. It's 10k. It's 10k.
How much would you say someone needs to earn on a monthly salary to live in Dubai? Normal life.
I watched this ridiculous video from this recruiter the other day, and he said 60,000 dirham and you can live the Dubai lifestyle. And I went,
What's that in pounds?
is that £14,000? Is it £14,000?
What, monthly?
Yeah. And I said,
The Dubai lifestyle.
And I said,
No
that
sense.
ain't Dubai lifestyle. That's Sharjah lifestyle.
Yeah,
Or
that's
maybe
no choice.
Sharjah's all right, but like Dira, that's Dira lifestyle, you know. For me, it's mental. So,
To rent a car here is £1,000 a day.
yeah.
If you want a Lambo here, it's £1,000 a day.
Yeah, it's impossible to do. So, I would say that to live an average life here, you've got to earn £200,000 a year.
So what's that monthly?
About 20 grand a month. That's an average life. That's an average life.
And that's no worries.
And that is no worries. You get to go out twice a week. You go to the beach club. You join a nice gym. You drive a Range Rover. I would say that's pretty good, right? Because also everything costs more. You got to remember that they're not giving you car loans with the balloon payments and all that stuff. None of that exists.
Yeah.
So when you pay something off, you're paying it off in 3 years. Like my monthlies on my car for 3 years is 41,000 dirham a month just on my car.
What's that, 10 grand a month?
10 grand a month on a car. It's mental. Whereas like in the UK, my Lambo had a balloon payment of like 70,000. I was only paying like 2 grand a month. It was fucking easy.
UK is easy when it comes to, they'll give anything to anyone. They don't care. They'll give you a big balloon payment. They'll take the car back at the end of the 3 years or whatever. They'll charge you thousands for damage or whatever you've done to it. But it's not
pretty
expensive.
easy. Yeah.
People say UK is expensive. Like back home now, I still live in the UK. Everyone says to me, UK is so expensive. I'm like, go to Dubai for a week. Let me know how it goes.
Oh,
go to Dubai for 1 week.
It really does a sink or swim thing to you because you either level up what you're doing and you realize that your attachment to money changes. You know, I watch now hundreds of thousands of pounds fly in, fly out all the time, and I don't think I'm anywhere near it. I look at people who are earning, you know, £3-4 million a week, and I think to myself, I've got work to do, you know. And like for me, that's where I like Dubai. But some people can have a negative effect, you know. People compare it to where they live. So it's like if you're from like a little town in Wigan, or you sometimes go out in Manchester or whatever, and you earn £20,000 a month, there's a good chance you'll probably be like a local celebrity.
Yeah, you're the main man.
Literally, you are top guy.
But in London, that's still nothing.
Yeah, true. But like in Dubai, it's like your identity goes different. It's different. So like you'll earn like 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 pound a month, and there'll be a guy who's earning 50,000 pound a week, and he'll just be next to you, and it'll be normal. And there'll probably be another guy that earns that much, and it's like your relationship with the value of that money changes, if that makes sense. So you go back to your own country, you are a celebrity. Oh, Mr. Dubai's back, blah blah blah, and all this sort of stuff. And you're earning decent money, and it's the highest you've ever earned in your life, and it's tax free, and this, that, and the other. But you don't feel like you've made it because you've now jumped out the pond, and you're in the fucking Atlantic Ocean, and there's whales and great white sharks and orcas swimming past you every single day, and you're just swimming along, thinking, I need to fucking double this money. And that's what I like about it. Because it's a game you can never win.
No, there will always. One thing I've learned is there will always be someone bigger than you in Dubai.
Yeah.
You're not mixing it with them people. There's people that earn millions a week.
Oh, yeah. Literally.
You can say, oh, yeah, I turned over 1.4, you said, mil this year. And you're proud of that, right?
No, that was like second year 2, year 3. Yeah.
He was proud, right?
Yeah,
he was happy.
Yeah.
There's someone who, like, he spends that on a number plate for jokes. He's like,
oh, it's crazy. Like, that. It really is. It's crazy. And, you know, for me, it's like, you know, when we hit the bigger revenue numbers and we started doing 7, 8, 10, I thought I fucking made it.
Yeah.
And then you realise you haven't made it, mate. You got to continue, and you've got to grow and grow and grow. And now that's why I've sort of put out the next stages of plans for the expansion of the business. We want to go into Saudi. We want to go into Ras Al Khaimah. I've got big plans for this over the next 2 years, because we're already an international business, and I feel like having the Middle East as our kind of driving point for expansion, whereas I was looking at like Marbella for expansion, I was looking for European, and I just thought, it doesn't excite me that much. It doesn't excite me that much, you know, whereas Saudi, that's going to be somewhere in a few years, and I want to be one of the first that's there, driving that traffic in. So it's exciting. So that's what I'm saying, is like, if you have that ambition, you can achieve so much, you know.
And I think it comes down to momentum as well. Once you've got it, once you've got the momentum, and right now you're flying. Like I was with someone earlier, I said, "Oh, do you know him?" And he goes, "No, but I see him all over my For You page."
Oh yeah.
That in my head, you're doing something right. Keep doing that. If people see you everywhere, you go to Saudi, even if one person recognizes, you might get a house from that one person. Because in Saudi, they've got money. It's there. It's not. They don't mind saying, "Yeah, sell it," because it all works on commission out here.
Oh,
no one cares. They just take it. If you want to sell it.
Oh, it's really like, that's what I like about kind of the higher ends of like business, is that a lot of the time it's the relationship first, and then you will get the business anyway, regardless if they like you. And that's the thing. So like, if you make those connections, for me, social media is a massive driving factor for that. But I also know that everyone's trying to do social media and all this. And I realized, like, I went through a phase where mine was like tanking a little bit, and like I was putting out this content that was a little bit, you know, oh, do this if you want to achieve this, and 3 things to blah, blah, blah. And it was just dog shit, and I wasn't enjoying it. And every time social media filming day was there, I was, I don't really want to do it. And now I'm just like,
let's go.
Yeah, I realised that actually the attraction for me is not telling people how to live their lives, or how. Everyone knows that I own a real estate company. Everyone knows that I'm making money. But I'm, you know, a very outspoken person that has very strong views on life, and very strong views on the world, very strong views on how stupid people actually are within the world. And I'm much happier voicing that, because that is what I believe. Because when I'm sat at home and my girlfriend's trying to make some food, all she's hearing off me is, that person is a fucking idiot, blah, blah, blah. Because that's just how I am. It's not because I have this bee in my bonnet. It's because I think if I hold it in, it's like I think I'm going to implode. I have to release it, and social media is a good way for me to do that. Because
you're a very straight to the point person.
Yeah, everything I say makes sense. Everything I say is backed up. Everything I say, it's not like trying to be opinionated to be cool. I see a lot of people actually within real estate trying to, you know, I saw this one guy and he was like suddenly shouting a bit on his videos and doing this. And I thought, I know what you're up to. But it was like, the thing for me is that that's how I am. If me and you was down the pub tomorrow and we remove these microphones, we'll be speaking exactly like this. It doesn't change. It doesn't change, because I have extremely strong views on life. I have extremely strong views on business. I think that most people in life are absolutely full of shit. And I think, and I just want to call them out. I want to call them out.
I love it. I genuinely, do you know what it is? Because everything I like saying, everything I like it, you say it, or you raw, you don't give a fuck. And I think that's probably why you're so successful. Because even at work, you probably speak to staff, not swear at them and stuff, but you tell them what it is. You haven't reached your target. You're not sat there like, oh, listen, come on, like we need to. You ain't reached it.
Yeah, I'm not
interested.
Simple. Yeah, I'm not interested.
Work harder.
Yeah, I'm not interested. I remember, like, I have, you know, people come to the office, and I know they want like a good relationship with me, and I want the relationships with them, but it's like, oh, can I grab you for a minute? Okay, yeah, fine. And then it's that third time. It's like, what do you want to grab me about? Like, you know what you've got to do. Get the deals in. If you're struggling with something, then I'll help you. But there's nothing else to talk about now. Let's get on with this. You know, let's stop wasting time. And that's kind of what my view is. I view the world in an extremely black and white way. I remember, like, you know, I was at meeting with this friend of mine on Sunday, and we were coming out of this, like, it was like, I guess, a brunch stroke club thing and all this sort of stuff. And I walked through and I had my open shirt on and I was waiting for my valet to pull the car around and all this sort of stuff. And this girl randomly, wasn't even like looking in her direction. I walked past and she goes, who does he think he is with his shirt open or something like that,
You're
right?
in Dubai.
And I went, are you talking to me? And then she was like, yeah, I don't know who you think you are, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, 2 or 3 of her friends. There was 2 or 3 guys stood there. And I went, well, I don't understand. And I was like stuttering. I was like, where's this come from? Like, why have you just gone for me like this? And then I went, and then they pulled my car around. And I said, do you like that car? And then she went, yeah, it's nice. Why? And I went, well, that's my car. I said, it's $500,000 car. I said, you and your ugly boyfriend are fucking broke. That's why the biggest thing you look forward to on a week is this shitty brunch that I had to come to meet someone. I said, so don't stop me in the street telling me this, telling me that. However I want to wear my shirt is my fucking business. But you know what? Even with an open shirt, I get to drive home in that, wear a $200,000 watch, and you have to go back to your 9 to 5 and have to sleep with that ugly motherfucker.
What did he say?
And then he started kind of squaring up to my brother, and I said, isn't it funny that it's always broke people that want to fight outside a nightclub? Isn't it funny? I said, you're in Dubai. What are you doing? You're going to go to prison today, are you? And then his friend went, money's not everything. And I said, it's funny. I said, actually, yes, it is. Because you live in Dubai. Yeah. If you don't think money's everything, go and move to fucking Bali and go and do a little mushroom trip in the forest or whatever the fuck you want to do. Because here, people earn money and you're judged on how successful you are. And that is Dubai. If you don't like it, fucking book a flight. Because your highlight of your week is this shitty ass brunch. And that was that. And it was like, that's the energy you get off people who shouldn't be here. There are people who should not be in Dubai because they have completely the wrong mindset. For me, so for example, the boyfriend there, because I always analyse these situations. Don't get me wrong, I'd had a couple of drinks and I was a bit like, telling them what's what. But like, for me, it's like, if I saw somebody who's got an RM on, who's pulling up in a nice car and all this, ask him what he does. Yeah. Get to know him. You know what I mean? Like, I went shopping for a car like the other day, just looking for one for the missus, and the guy who was a sales guy, I walked in and he went, I know you are. And I thought, oh, good, like, and he said, I've been thinking about it. He didn't even talk about the car. He just started telling me his life story. And he went, I've been thinking about real estate for ages. I've moved over here from Scotland. I've been selling this much. I'm earning this much a month. I'm really good at car sales, but it's 8 o'clock at night. I don't even know if I want it. I'm like, I just want to look at the car, mate. Do you know what I mean? But it was great because he saw that I'd come in. And he was like, I need to fucking speak to this guy. And, I've exchanged messages and the recruitment team will talk to him and all this. And I thought, that's how you should be. Just the same as when I see someone that I know they're worth 100 mil. I'm not going to go, why are you wearing your shirt open, mate? I'm going to go, how did you get to 100 mil? Like, let's have a chat. Let me buy you a drink. Let me get you some food. It's the difference in mentality. There's a broke person's mindset where they have this brash, like pushing out their own insecurities on people. And then you have people who, they might not be there yet, but they're trying to get there. And that's what I value, is that I don't look down on people because they have less. I was broke as they come fucking 10 years ago. Like or even 5-6 years ago. Like I don't ever look down on people for what they have. What I look down on people for is their mindset and their attitude. I can't stand entitled people. I think that one of the lessons I've learned as well is that I have a view that if you come and meet me halfway, I will meet you more than halfway. I will do everything I can to help you get where you want to get to, because I want you to turn around and go, fucking hell, 2 years ago I had nothing. Now I'm earning £100,000 a month. Now I've paid my mum's mortgage off. Now I've bought this car. Now I've bought this watch. I want to hear that. That makes me happy. And what you'll find with a lot of people in this world is, I always used to think, when you get these people to that position, you would think that they would almost worship the ground that you will walk on. But funny enough, they don't. And one of the strangest lessons I've ever had to learn is that you will help a lot. Some people are morally intact. Other people are not. Other people love you at the start, but rather than them saying, I'm so happy I'm earning £100,000 a month, they think, it fucking annoys me so much that he's earning $1 million.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, and it's such a ridiculous mindset to have, because 5 years ago, when I was putting all my pounds together, and I was eating baked beans and a fucking loaf of bread and splitting that up into 2 meals because that was all the money I had while I pumped my money into this business, he was probably doing something that was completely unrelated to this career, earning maybe £1,500 a month, not knowing where he's going to be in a few years, and then suddenly we've gotten to a point where he's earning £500,000 a year or £300,000 a year, whatever it might be. But instead of going, I'm so happy that I got to that point,
He's still looking at how much you're making.
and it's ridiculous
There's
mindset.
a famous TikTok video I saw, and he interviewed the old school Italian gangster, Michael.
Oh, I think I've seen it. Yeah.
Guy walks up to him and he goes, "What's one bit of advice you give to the youth?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "I hired a taxi driver to go back and forward to the bank and pick up my money. He was picking up £30,000 to £40,000 every drop, and he was paying him £6,000 per drop." And he goes, "You know the biggest mistake he ever made?" He goes, "What?" He goes, "He compared what I was making to what he was making,
Yes.
and he thought he should make what I'm making."
Yeah.
Why?
It's
You're
nuts.
making 6,000. I'm making 30. It doesn't matter. You're
Yeah.
still making great money.
100%.
But people forget it.
100%. And the funny thing is that having that mindset is a ridiculous way to live, because
terrible.
it's not reasonable. It's not rational. So like, it's a bit like, there's some companies here that are fucking massive, right? There's, one or two that are enormous. Okay. And they've been here 16 years, 15 years. So people say to me, I won't name the company, but people say to me, "Oh, yeah, but those guys are killing it." I mean, I've been here a fucking year, mate. Give me a chance. Like, I'm not sitting here going, "Oh, them lot of this, them lot of that." I think fucking fair play to them.
Good luck to him, yeah. I want
Owner's
to be
got
that
a
big
yacht.
soon.
They're fucking killing it. Good luck to them. Like, I am happy. Do you know why? Because it reassures me that I am on the right track where I'm going. Just the same as somebody who comes into business with me, who comes into business or is a broker with me, knows that there are brokers who are earning 500,000 to £1 million this year in our business. And what they don't understand is business. So, for example, to earn £500,000 net profit, money left with to buy watches, right? They have to, on a 25% net profit, which is high, most of them are on 10 to 15%. Let's work on 25. Yeah. They've got to turn over £2.5 million. Do you know how many sales you've got to make at £10,000, £15,000, £20,000 fees to do a turnover of £2.5 million? It's a lot of business. You've got to have fucking good systems, fucking good training, a lot of money to throw into it to earn £500,000 net income. So when a broker comes in and last year earned 35 grand and this year he's earning £500,000 and he's invested nothing into a business.
It's not a joke, is it? That's big.
What the fuck have you got to moan about? Absolutely nothing. You should be on the phone to your mum and dad saying, "Mama, I made it.
Yeah, for
I'm
real.
paying your mortgage off. Let me fly you out here. Look after your family. Don't worry about what I'm fucking doing." And that's the thing, that people always looking over their neighbour's fence going, "Oh, his missus is better looking than mine. His grass is greener." I guess
so
they're looking
true.
at my fence, but but it's like, it's a wild way to live. When I see people who are ahead of me on the track, and that's what I call it, we're all running a race, yeah. And some people they're just further down the track. They're not in a different game.
Yeah.
They're just further down the track. And if you do everything correct, you will get there. Just the same as the guy who's earning £1 million as a broker will probably have in 2-3 years so many repeat clients and so much exponential business that he'll earn 3 million. And and he'll be living in a fuck off house and he'll be driving 2-3 supercars and he won't have invested a fucking penny. Like, that is the vehicle to make a hell of a lot of money. So when people have that entitled attitude, I can't fucking stand it. It's my pet hate, because I would have severed my right arm off to have the opportunity of being a broker in my business years ago. I would have given anything. And
Are you guys still recruiting?
yeah, absolutely. So we're recruiting across the UK, recruiting across Dubai. We have 2 amazing recruitment girls, Jenna and Georgia. They are unbelievable, and they will give everybody the breakdown of really the ethos of the company, the ethos of the business, how we've grown so fast. We obviously had the television show on Channel 4. We are, I would call, disruptors gets thrown around, but I feel like we are a very disruptive agency in the market. And, you know, they'll talk you through anyone who's interested, yeah.
And for people watching this episode, if they do want to reach out, where's the best way to get in touch with the recruitment team and stuff like that?
Yes, you can message the Tyron Ash International page either on Instagram or LinkedIn, or you can reach out to myself, Tyron Ash Official on Instagram, and Tyron Ash on LinkedIn. Just send us a message and I'll put you in touch with the right people, yeah.
And if we're going to wrap this podcast up now and you were going to leave one little bit of advice for the younger generation, what would it be?
It would be make hard work the foundation of everything you do. We live in a world where everything is automated. Everything is a like, a click, a comment. You're idolizing people who are YouTube influencers, who are influencers from different platforms. Just, even if that is a route that you want to take, make sure the foundation of it is complete and utter hard work. Because the hardest worker in the room, given the right skill set, given the right blueprint, will outdo every other person.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel that even when I have things that go wrong, I still just get back to work. That is the only other option. It's a little bit like what I said right at the start about the prison thing. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what my emotions are. I've still got to get up at that time. I've still got to have lunch at that time. I've still got to have dinner at that time. My door gets locked at that time and I get back up the next day at that time. And if you have that regimented, almost militant attitude to going to work, making money and not getting distracted with anything else, almost like you're locking yourself in a career prison, that will serve you so much better than getting drawn into every little distraction, every little thing that's going to detract you from your journey. And young people have lost that. You know, what was it like as we were growing up? If you had no money, what did you do? You got a job, didn't you?
Yeah, you have to do something to make money.
You got to do something else. You got to do something. You got to do something.
Not in Dubai, though.
No. But you know, you just have to do it. And I feel like, you know, that ethos and that culture, it's like a dying breed. And any young person who has a serious work rate, is self-development driven, is not afraid to take a job with no pay, and will work until they learn it and they can execute it themselves, they will pull themselves away from 99% of the competition in their age group.
Well, listen, my bro, I think that in itself is enough gems for the younger generation. It's been a pleasure having you on my show. And listen, keep doing what you're doing, keep smashing it, and good luck with the expansion to Saudi.
Thank you, brother. It's been a real pleasure. Really appreciate it.
Guys, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.